All right, welcome to The Explainer. I'm super excited to dive into this with you today because we're looking at something absolutely game-changing, the modern digital creation pipeline. The whole landscape of how we actually make things right now, whether that's a viral video pulling in millions of views or a fully functional web app, it's completely transformed. Today, we're going to explore the entire spectrum of this new reality. We're talking everything from effortless, mind-bending AI automation all the way down to the nitty-gritty, pixel-perfect craft of human polish. So buckle up because the tools we're looking at today are literally rewriting the rules. Here's a quick roadmap for our explainer today. First, we'll look at the AI creation boom. Then we'll get into one-prompt video generation. After that, we're breaking down the faceless content blueprint, exploring vibe coding for AI apps, and finally, we'll wrap up with the importance of the human polish. Okay, let's jump right into section 1, the AI creation boom, or as I like to think of it, scaling creation at the speed of thought. So this brings us to a massive question. It's actually one you've probably asked yourself while scrolling late at night. How exactly are millions of views and completely functional web apps just generated overnight? Seriously, how are solo creators suddenly pumping out the volume and quality that used to take an entire production studio? Well, just look at the sheer scale of this boom. It's wild. We're seeing these completely faceless explainer channels rack up almost 2 million subscribers, seemingly out of thin air. And creators who focus on super niche topics, like health, specific tech, or even, creepy deep-sea animals, they're pulling in incredibly strong RPMs, sometimes hitting around $4 per thousand views. Then you've got movie recap channels generating absolute viral gold while somehow navigating a minefield of strict copyright constraints. And hey, it's not just video. Indie developers are totally bypassing hours of traditional coding to launch functional web apps in minutes, literally minutes. So how are they actually pulling this off? Let's peel back the curtain a bit. Moving into section 2, one-prompt video generation. We're really pushing the limits of AI video here. Now, what's really fascinating here is how we define this new tech. We're talking about a prompt-to-video agent, like Agent Opus. This is a massive leap forward, guys. Up until pretty recently, AI video basically meant spitting out random, disconnected 3-second glitchy clips, right? But an agent like this, it takes a comprehensive script, an uploaded audio voiceover, and your custom visual context, and it actually attempts to build a cohesive multi-minute sequence. Basically, you're giving it the backbone, and the AI is doing the heavy lifting of visualizing your entire narrative. So the crucial thing to understand here is the workflow, because it isn't magic, right? It's a highly structured pipeline. First off, you pick a visual style. Maybe it's comic book, collage, or cinematic, or you can even train it by uploading your own reference images to give your channel a totally unique vibe. Second, you feed it a structured script and a voiceover. And get this, the AI actually uses that audio narration as its central spine to figure out when to change scenes. Third, you generate a continuous draft. And step 4, this is where you come in, you refine it scene by scene. If scene 1 looks amazing, but scene 2 is kind of a mess, you just regenerate that specific part and mix the absolute best results together. Which actually leads us to this fantastic quote from creators who are deep in the trenches with these tools. They say, "Think of it not as a magic button, but as a way to accelerate a process. The intelligent approach is to keep the best for multiple generations." I absolutely love this, because it hits the nail on the head. Even at the absolute peak of AI automation, the human role of curation and taste, it's absolutely critical. At the end of the day, your taste is what makes the final cut actually watchable. All right, section 3, the faceless content blueprint. This is the modular approach to viral videos. So this is the actual pipeline powering thousands of those viral explainers you see everywhere, and it is highly structured. Hour 1 is purely ideation and scripting. Usually you're prompting ChatGPT to feed you high-performing topics and bang out a fast-paced, hook-heavy 8 to 10-minute script. Hour 2, that's converting the script into audio. Hour 3 is where you put on your curator hat, sourcing visual assets that perfectly match the vibe. And finally, Hour 4 is bringing the whole shebang together in an editing timeline like CapCut. To pull this off, creators rely on a very specific toolbox. For instance, for that high-quality professional explainer tone, a lot of people use a tool called DubDub, specifically hunting down a voice profile named Liam, because it just has that perfect YouTube energy. Now, for dramatic movie recaps, they might pivot to Google AI Studio's Everyday Assistant to get a really solid storytelling vibe. For custom images, they turn to platforms like Flow, using specific models like Nano Banana Pro to spit out 16:9 aspect ratio visuals. And for everything else, they're hitting up free stock sites like Pixabay or Canva. especially using Canva's transparent background feature so they can easily layer graphics. Now listen up, because if you're making movie recaps, there is a golden rule you absolutely must follow if you want your channel to survive. It's called the 3-second rule. You have to cut your source material at a strict 3-second maximum to dodge those devastating copyright strikes. But wait, if your voiceover takes, say, 10 seconds to explain a specific scene, how on earth do you fill that visual gap? Well, this is where human ingenuity steps in to kind of hack the system. Creators use some incredibly clever editing workarounds for this. First, obviously, they cut strictly at that 3-second mark. But if they need the visual to linger, they'll simply slow down the speed of that 3-second clip to stretch it out. Another genius trick? Taking a screenshot of the very last frame of the video clip and just dragging that static image out on the timeline. And to make all of this look dynamic instead of broken, they'll duplicate the video layer, heavily blur the bottom layer so it fills the whole screen, and drop in these super fast glitch transitions between every single cut. It completely tricks the eye, it sneaks like past the copyright bots, and honestly, it looks totally intentional. Let's shift gears a bit. Section 4, Vibe Coding AI Applications, Intent-Driven Software Development. If you want to understand why indie developers are building so incredibly fast right now, you really just have to look at this comparison. I mean, traditional coding hackathons, they used to be all about chugging energy drinks, getting zero sleep, and spending hours just setting up your manual environment and debugging annoying syntax errors. Well, vibe coding flips that script entirely. Now, the focus is 100% on your intent and your prompt engineering. The AI handles all the boring boilerplate code behind the scenes. You iterate just using natural language, literally telling the AI, hey, make this look cooler, and the AI handles the instant deployment to the cloud. It's a real game changer. So let's see how this actually plays out in a real workflow, exactly like we saw in the recent Hack2 skill developer challenges. Developers are using tools like Google Anti-Gravity. Step 1, you enable the Cloud Run server so the AI can actually push your app to the web. Step 2, you literally just prompt the AI. In one awesome example, a developer simply asked for an amazing snake game, and boom, the Gemini 3.1 Pro High model instantly wrote the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, just like that. Step 3, you review the code. If you aren't feeling the dark mode the AI picked, you just type change this to a light mode theme, and it rewrites it instantly. Finally, step 4, you command the agent to auto-deploy. Within seconds, you've got a live, shareable URL. You're literally going from a spoken idea to a functional website in minutes. And that brings us to our final section, Section 5, the human polish. Because sometimes AI just isn't enough. So what exactly happens when good enough just isn't good enough? Well, a perfect example of this is the Software as a Service, or SaaS, explainer animation. This is a highly visual, incredibly fast-paced motion graphic sequence that relies on pure, intentional design, movement, and storytelling to clearly explain a digital product. To achieve this specific, super slick corporate look, you can't just type a quick prompt into an AI box. No way! It requires intense, meticulous human intervention. Just take a look at the actual manual labor required inside a program like Adobe After Effects to make these animations really pop. Motion designers are using scripts like Text Exploder just to break words down into individual layers. They spend hours, literally hours, inside the graph editor, manually adjusting the influence of velocity keyframes between 60 and 100% just to make a bouncing ball feel organic. They're mathematically linking shapes using inverted alpha track maths so text magically disappears as objects pass over it. They set up these wildly complex 3D scenes using 50mm virtual cameras driven by invisible null objects. And then finally, they manually color-correct the whole thing using 4-color gradients, expensive deep glow plugins, and highly specific monochromatic grain. Honestly, it is a labor of intense love and mathematical precision that AI just cannot replicate yet. Which leaves us with this final, really vital question. As these one-prompt AI tools get faster, cheaper, and vastly more capable every single month, will this kind of meticulous, pixel-perfect human polish eventually become a lost art? Or actually, scratch that. Is taking the time to manually perfect your craft about to become your ultimate competitive advantage in a sea of automated content? Definitely something to chew on as you go out and explore these incredible tools for yourself. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer. I really hope this structured look at the modern pipeline sparked some major ideas for your next project. Catch you next time.